scared to death to be alone in the dark.
What happens in death screams?
Where will it strike?
It's important to remember that for the Indians, the ghost dance cult presented a marvelous new world in graphic detail. A world inhabited only by Indians, in which the buffalo would darken the land once again. And in fact, previous generations of Indians would come back to walk the earth. Some of the elders, unfortunately it's some of the more vocal ones, believe that what we have in there is the body of somebody called
Toya.
And whoever he is, they're scared to death of him.
You would be amazed at what people will do, Doctor. With or without a full moon.
Take it easy, lady. Calm down now.
Hey, well, you are listening to Hysteria Continues, and this is Armand Mastriani, the director of He Knows You're Alone.
Yes, indeed, you are listening to the Hysteria Continues, and there'd be nothing more frightening than finding Toya on the slab, as I'm sure you'd agree.
Yeah, I heard that. That was bold.
Bold, okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Just a little tribute to Toya there for you. Thanks for joining us again. This episode, I think it's 145. We're slightly, I'm always slightly confused, but we are recording this way in advance. I think this is going out at the end of August, or sometime in August anyway. But we're recording it because we're sort of stacking up a few shows. We're not going to leave you in the lurch for the summer. So this time we're off into the desert to fight evil Indian spirits in the very, very, very obscure 1982 released slasher, Indian burial ground slasher, Ghost Dance, which is my choice. And one quick correction, well, not correction, but last episode you would have heard as a mutilator, and we forgot to mention that it was another listener pick, and it was Michael Alashan who chose that. So so apologies, Michael, for that. But I think you're also going to be picking, I think one of your picks is coming up next time, which we'll be telling you about at the end of the show. But in time on tradition, well, I'll just introduce you. Well, I can't introduce you to Joseph at the moment because he's been waylaid.
Yes, you can.
Oh, I can. He's here. Oh, what a surprise!
Wow, magic.
Hey, it's like Hysteria Continues jump scare.
It was. I didn't even notice you coming on line.
Yes. Well, no, it's Joseph. Thank you for joining us. It's a bit touch and go there, or in Eric's case, touching cloth.
Hey.
So Joseph,
well,
that's true. Joseph, I obviously we do. We had a DVD review recently, or Blu-ray review, where we were criticised for being a little bit childish, which obviously we were more offended by. Obviously. So anyway, Joseph, how are you doing? Oh, is he gone again? Oh no, he's
gone again.
He's gone again. We can have Joseph dipping in and out of this call, I think. But all right, Erik, how's life treating you?
I'm really excited because, speaking of Toya, she has two songs that would be suitable for the end of the show. One is called Ghosts and one is called Danced. So you can play both of them if you want in full. The listeners will really appreciate it.
Oh, I see.
Which one are you going to, or which one are you going to go for first?
Well, I think I'll probably keep you in suspense, Erik, about which song I'm going to play. I.e. neither. But
did you say anything to me again?
Yes.
He asked how you were doing.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that explains how he's doing.
Okay, all right.
Why you did?
Carry on.
Okay, well, how are you doing, Joseph? You having technical issues?
I'm having people issues today, but other than that, I'm okay. And it's pitch black in here.
Is it? Why is that? Is it dark, or you just?
It's a reference.
Pitch black in here.
Oh, I see. Right. Oh, yes. Well, we'll be talking about the difficulty in viewing this movie. But Nathan, and how are you doing?
I'm doing very swell today.
Ooh,
that's that's an American term I haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah.
Swell.
Yeah.
I want to bring it back into the rotation of my life, my speaking.
Tubular.
Tubular. Yes.
Do people say that anymore?
No.
I'm going to bring that back into rotation.
But you know what's a classic that's never gone away is the word cool.
I know.
It always seems to, usually if I can't think of anything else to say to somebody, I'll say, oh, cool.
What about Fandabidozi?
That must
I
be
say
a
that all the
British
time.
term.
It is. The Crankies used to say it.
Yeah. Did you?
They are,
Yeah,
transvestite comedian.
Yeah. Well, did you ever see the Crankies? I don't think they would have translated
No.
into the States. But they were very popular in the 1970s, and it was a middle-aged woman dressed as a schoolboy, sort of, who's also a bit of a midget.
Yeah, and they're swingers as well in real life.
Are they?
They like to go dogging. Yep.
How?
Because they're a husband and wife. The Crankies are a husband and wife team.
Yes.
Yeah.
But how did you find out this scandalous, potentially legally troubling?
It's not. It's out there in the ether. It's in the papers and stuff. So don't worry. We're not saying anything that people don't already know.
Gosh. Okay.
Type in Crankies swingers, and I wonder what delightful images will appear on Google.
So who needs the celebrity gossip show, page 7, when you've got Hysteria Continues? Bring you the latest on 1970s British comedians. So, right up to the minute to their news and gossip for you. So, yes, well, this time we're going to be going back, as I mentioned, back to the early 80s for a very obscure slasher movie. And we have, when I picked this, because I remember, I looked back through my reviews and I thought, actually, I was looking at the shelf and I saw it sat there on the shelf because I have the video box, the Canadian release, I think. And I thought, I remember that being a really good little film, and I looked at my review and I gave it 3.5 stars out of 5. But then I saw it was on YouTube, so I thought, well, actually, even though it's really, really obscure, anyone can play along and watch it. But little did I remember that, unfortunately, long passages of the film were nigh on impossible to actually work out what's going on. But we'll talk about that shortly. But well, let's see if we've watched anything the last week, because it's only been a week since we recorded last. So, but Nathan, have you watched anything of note?
I've watched a few things, actually. First, I watched a movie called Summer Lake Massacre, a.k.a. Massacre at Pine Lake.
Did you make that movie?
No.
Oh, it sounds like something starring the shoe rack and Hazel Tankersley.
No, not this movie. I saw it on Amazon Prime. I was just browsing for a movie to watch, and I saw it, and it looked just like a cheesy slasher movie, and I'd never heard of it. So I decided to give it a watch, and it's about this group of camp counselors who are setting up camp for the campers, and the night before the campers are to arrive, a guy escapes from prison and shows up at the camp and starts killing them off. But the interesting thing about this movie, and I thought it was odd because it was only 47 minutes long, and as I got to watching it, I thought, these actors, I mean, they didn't look like your typical actors in like a horror movie. And as I've started to look up information about this movie, and it turns out this is a porn movie, and on Amazon, just all the sex scenes are cut out. It just keeps like the movie elements. So it literally is a porn without the sex. And, I mean, it was very cheesy. There's actually one scene in it I particularly liked where the final girl is walking outside and the killer is like on this roof, this low roof above her, and is just walking right alongside her. And I thought, that's actually not a bad scene in this really, really cheesy movie. And then at the end, when it's her turn to dispatch the killer, they also give her a cheesy one-liner too. She says something, I can't remember how it goes, but something along the lines of, do you know how hard it is to find good camp counselors? And then, she shoots the killer with the flare gun. But, I mean, this is a killer that at one point in the movie, he picks up two, women by the throat with each hand and lifts them off the ground and kills them that way. And then later at the end of the movie, the final girl she's literally half his size, is somehow beating him up at the first part of the fight that they're having. It's so nonsensical. But, I mean, I kind of enjoyed it just because it was so dumb.
I wonder if the XXX version is very cheesy. What do you think, Justin?
Oh, God.
Isn't it kind of, is that the same as Camp Cuddly Pines Massacre?
I don't think so.
Because that's a porn slasher, isn't it?
Yeah,
well, you'd know.
I've heard of that one.
Well, it's just I've seen clips from it, Erik.
Yeah, I'm sure you have.
But there was,
dirty boy.
There was a gay porn version of Scream called Moan. I know that. And there was a gay porn version of The Ring as well, wasn't there?
Oh,
Yes.
Oh, no.
Did you not
It's
see
called The Hole or something.
The Hole, yeah.
It didn't need to change its title, really.
No, it didn't really. Well, for copyright reasons.
Yeah.
But I have seen clips of it. I did see the non-porn version, because there is a non-porn version out there, and we did start watching it. It's pretty bad, but it's basically the premise is a group of frat boys are in a house, and they get a phone call saying that you will turn gay in 7 days. And after 7 days, they turn gay and start boning. I kind of guess. What?
Sounds scary to me. Have you seen Friday the 15th?
Oh my God! There's actually a film called Friday the 15th.
Yeah, it's a gay porn actually.
Yeah. I've always quite fancy seeing Edward Penis Hands. That was one of the hardest ones, wasn't it?
I think that review was right about us.
Maybe.
It has to be.
Wasn't the Texas Dildo Massacre as well? Or was that a different? I did see that it came up on one of the Blumhouse blogs, or one of those blogs that kind of the porn versions of horror movies. So there's quite a few different ones out there.
What was that one you saw again, Nathan? What was it called? Summer Camp?
It was called Summer Lake Massacre.
Massacre.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. But when I looked it up online, the alternate, I guess the actual porn title is Massacre at Pine Lake.
Which is strange, isn't it? The why it's not really kind of, it's not.
Yeah,
really,
I mean,
not
the
very
title
sexy.
works either way, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, Nathan. So anyway, it's a little side journey into slasher porn. But what else? Yeah, what else have you been watching?
I also watched Unforgettable, the new horror thriller with Katherine Heigl and Rosario Dawson. It's one of those From Hell movies. This is the ex-wife from Hell, and it's very cliched because it's your standard movie of the ex-wife still obsessed with her husband, and he's got this new woman now that he's engaged to, and the ex-wife starts causing trouble for them, trying to break them up, and pulls a lot of shady stuff. So I thought it was awesome. We had talked recently about what made bad movies good is they're taken so seriously in the film. They're not trying to be over the top or funny. And all the actors in this film take it very, very seriously. I mean, they play this movie very, very serious. But the movie itself is just, you could just count all the cliches, as they're going to happen. The husband, of course, is your standard dumb husband that doesn't believe a word that his new wife is trying to tell him. And thinks his ex-wife is so innocent.
Which one is the psycho ex-wife?
Katherine Heigl.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and then the finale, and I won't spoil it because, I do think people should kind of check it out because it's entertaining. It's just so ridiculous. The ending scene is hysterical to me, and it's played so tragic, but just the way it goes down, happens everything. It's just really funny to me because I don't know, it's just so over the top. And From Hell movies, as much as I love them, it's if they follow the regular formula, then you pretty much know what to expect. It's going to come down to a showdown. This movie even has the scene where one character's racing to stop something terrible from happening, and they're in the car and they speed through a red light and the cars honk at her and swerve out of the way. And I'm like, how many times have we seen that kind of a scene in a movie?
It sounds
like it's one for me. He's a big fan of those From Hell movies.
Oh, I thought it was great. It doesn't have great ratings, but I thought it was fun.
Where's that to? Where's that?
Yeah, did you see that in the cinema, Nathan?
It's out on digital here. I rented it on Vudu, I think.
Oh, so it's not a Netflix or a Amazon Prime?
No, you have to actually pay to rent it. Maybe it'll be on there for free though soon.
Well, I'm sure Erik will find a way to watch it. Anything else, Nathan?
The last movie I watched was called Hunters. Joseph actually watched this one too, so I'm sure when he's back, or if he's there now, he'll have some opinions about it as well. But
I'm here for the time being. I can't make any promises though.
Okay, do you want to start talking about Hunters, and I'll kind of chime in while you're here?
Sure. It fucking sucked. There, your turn.
Wow. Somebody's a bit rhubarby today.
That was his chiming in. I mean, I can't really disagree with him, to be honest. It's one of those movies that you're just watching torture scenes for an hour and a half, and I don't know. Do you know, like, you see, everybody's like, it's such a shocking film and things like that I'd read online, but when I watched it, it's like you see like so much, you just kind of become numb to it. And I was just watching thinking, this is actually just starting to really bore me, because the description said, like these two brothers are, like on this like killing spree, and they're like torturing and killing like random people. And then like they, another section of the film is about these 5 teenagers that are, going out to the woods or something to hang out. I couldn't figure it all out completely, but when I read the description, I thought it was going to be like they run across these 2 brothers, and it's kind of like a fight between the 2 groups or something. I don't know, but it wasn't to me. It was just, just to give you an example of what it's like, it like shows the killers busting into a house, and they're trying to find the homeowners, and they're going to kidnap them. And you see the homeowners hiding, and then suddenly it jump cuts to they already have the homeowners kidnapped at their house, and they're torturing them like in gruesome ways. And then it cuts to these 5 teenagers hanging out in a car just with, I'm talking random dialogue. It's like no script. It's just chit chat. And then it cuts back to them, the 2 brothers torturing people again. It cuts all over the place. And I just could not figure out what the point of this movie was, except to just show a bunch of torture scenes. I don't think there was a storyline at all.
So you say it's like just endless torture for an hour and a half?
Oh, I can see where you're going. Go on, say it.
I was not going to say that sounds like Toya at the Roundhouse, but
yeah,
live.
But like I said, I've said before, I don't like insulting, another filmmaker's work, because I know how hard it is to make a film, but I just need some kind of a storyline, just something. And this just didn't really give anything except for, some, halfway decent gore effects, but that's it. And it's really wasn't worth it to me to watch. And it actually has Linnea Quigley in it, which I was kind of surprised by. I didn't think she really had much to do in the movie, though.
Well, that doesn't sound like it's a new movie, is it?
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like not my cup of tea.
No,
I'd have to say that. And there might be some people that enjoy it for the shock and the, I guess the shock value. But for me, just watching torture for an hour and a half just is not entertainment.
No, fair enough. Did you want to chime in anything else, Joseph? If you're there.
Yeah, it's just what Nathan said. Basically, everybody's like, "Oh my God, this is the most shocking thing you'll ever see. It's so good and so shocking," and I just hated it. I had to force myself to finish the movie. I was going to shut it off at least 2 or 3 times. This is just endless torture. And it's just like, yeah, you got some decent gore effects, but so what? I don't know. That's all I have to say about it.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, thank you, Nathan. Is anything else?
No.
Okay, right. Well, just I always like to finish off with just double checking, because we know what happened that one time. Yes, Joseph, if you've got time to talk, anything else you want to chime in with?
Yeah, I watched a new movie called 200 Degrees, which is sort of a phone booth meets Saw concept. It's about a man who's he's abducted and he's placed into it's an industrial sized kiln. And there's a voice telling him that, he has to transfer over his phone $1 million to a bank account in 2 hours, or basically he'll be broiled alive. Now, I like the first hour of this one a lot. It's essentially a one-person show. The lead character put into the kind of the proverbial frying pan trying to appease his kidnapper and kind of running through the gamut of emotions while the temperature rises. Unfortunately, when they reveal who's behind the kidnapping, the movie just completely loses it. Not only by, way of a huge didactic moment of monologue between the villain and the hero, but it looks like the final scenes were kind of shot with no audio, or maybe the audio was lost. I don't know, but the entirety of the ending is just done with ADR and overlaying ambience on the track, and it feels extremely cheap and kind of negates the fairly rousing hour that preceded it. It's an interesting concept done, well enough for the first hour, but this is ultimately a case of not only poor writing but poor filmmaking, just completely ruining what could have been a decent could have been a decent movie overall, but I don't know, that last 20 minutes just like really kills it.
Okay. Well, again, it doesn't sound like one to be hunting out, but yeah.
No, it sounds like Saw or one of those.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tired concept, but they do it, fairly well for the first hour. I mean, it's not really torture; it's just more like suspense, and I appreciated that. But the last 20 minutes, just the way it's so cheap and rushed, and it just really just kills, any suspense the first hour had.
And was there many people in the cinema when you went to see that in the cinema?
No, I saw it on one of those streaming sites.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Erik, I think people in glass houses and all that.
Hey!
So, anything else, Joseph?
Yeah, I also watched a movie from 2007 called Frayed, which I believe was sort of, in quotations, recommended by Nathan on one of our older episodes.
Have you not learned anything from the last 6 years?
What was that supposed to mean?
Recommended by Nathan.
Yeah. Well, he told me to watch it on one of the older episodes anyway.
Okay.
It's about a little boy who basically murders his mother after his sister's birthday party. He spends the next 20-odd years locked up in an asylum. And on the night that his sister and her friends are sneaking off to the woods for a camping party with their significant others, he escapes and basically goes on a killing spree dressed as a clown. And his sheriff father and one of the security guards from the asylum are both kind of like after him separately. I mean, Frayed, it's not a bad movie. It's competently put together, and despite its almost 2-hour runtime, I was never really bored. Though I think a better movie would probably exist if it were maybe a little leaner. My biggest problem is that it kind of relies on one of those hoary old twists we've seen many, many times before. And I guess that wouldn't be so bad in and of itself if the twist was at least handled effectively, but they telegraph it early on. So basically we're essentially waiting for the characters to kind of catch up to us. It also has too many false endings. I mean, it never really knows when to call it quits. I guess that kind of dovetails back to my earlier complaint about the running time. But all that said, the movie's nearly saved from just being a mediocre kind of one-timer by an outstanding punch you in the gut, holy shit, I never saw that coming final twist that really floored me. And I'm usually on point with guessing these little stingers in these films, but this one completely took me by surprise. So I guess a moderate recommendation, at least for that, that last-minute plot twist, which is totally a shocker.
Okay. Nathan, do you remember recommending that?
I can't remember recommending it, but I've seen it. It's probably been a long time ago, but it's been a really long time since I saw it. But I do remember pretty much agreeing with Joseph. My biggest issue was the running time. I don't necessarily need a slasher movie to be 2 hours or close to 2 hours. I think 90 minutes is enough, and actually some of my favorites are about 80 minutes. So...
Cool. Okay. Well, thank you, Joseph.
But that last shocker, though, Nathan, you remember the.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm like you. I almost thought they should have cut out a bunch of those false endings and then just stuck with that one, and like tightened up the running time, and it would have been a much better movie. It was still good.
Yeah,
but it could have been
completely unexpected.
Well, that's kind of piqued my interest. You've not seen it, Erik?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you,
But
Joseph.
I'll watch anything recommended by Nathan.
Well, of course.
Well, you should.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
It should be.
Now, Erik, you'll be pleased to know I actually paid $1.95 on YouTube to watch this movie.
Can you pay for stuff on YouTube?
Yes.
Yeah, they have a streaming service on YouTube.
Oh, I must check that out.
And Erik, I recommend you watch for our next show, Blotterin.
What's that?
You haven't seen Blotterin?
No.
AKA The Bleeder?
The Bleeder. It's a Danish or Swedish slasher film, maybe. I don't know.
It's about an all-girl rock group getting stalked by a killer called the Bleeder.
Oh, I like all-girl rock groups.
It's not in English, though. I don't know if it's subtitled or not either.
That's okay. Oh,
the one I saw wasn't subtitled.
Oh, I'm not watching a foreign language film that's not subtitled. Sorry. I know some people can do that, but I can't. I just tend to drift. My attention span drifts.
It's early 80s, isn't it, that one?
Yeah, it's 83. You'd love their fashion in it, Eric.
But if it's 83 and it probably isn't available on video, how am I going to see it?
I'm sure you could find a way to watch.
I don't know what you mean.
Board.
I don't know what.
Ask and answer. Asked and answered, Eric. Asked and answered.
So, okay, well, thank you, Joseph. Eric, how about you?
The only other thing I've watched apart from Ghost Dance was we were doing a commentary track for a film we can't mention yet on Thursday night. So they were the two films I was watching this week. Yeah. So.
Yeah, well, same here. I mean, I'm sure we can mention it soon. By the time this goes out, it'll probably be common knowledge.
Yeah.
But it is one of the better late Golden Age movies, isn't it? Of the slasher canon. So so that was a fun one to do. But we shall let you know when we get word that we can let that out of the bag. I haven't, like Erik, I've simply not had much time, and most of my time's been watching that film and sort of doing research for it. The only thing I've been watching, it's not really a slasher or horror related, but it's just kind of a recommend, is the Spanish TV series I Know Who You Are, which is it's set in Barcelona, and it's kind of like, well, it's a really sort of twisty thriller about a professor who may or may not be having an affair with one of his students, and at the beginning of the film, at the beginning of the series, he's found wandering, and he claims to have amnesia, and he can't remember anything about a car accident, and the blood from the student is in his car, and he claims he can't remember, but the whole premise is, does he remember or not? Has he really got amnesia, and what's happened to the student? And it's just kind of all the kind of the peripheral characters, and it was all the way through. It was kind of like peeling like an onion, sort of like underneath. There's lots of kind of rotten secrets. So that's quite. If you like those kind of things, then that's the definite recommend. That's currently showing on BBC 4, I think, or one of the sort of the BBC things. But I'm sure you'll be able to find it elsewhere, I'm sure. But so
whatever.
What? Well, it's coming from the man who didn't even know that you could pay for content on YouTube.
I didn't know you could pay for content. You might be able to in Ireland.
Well, there you go. Anyway, on that bombshell, should we get on to the main feature? Reckless fools have violated a sacred Indian burial ground. Now they must pay the price. Enter a world where anything is possible, where a resurrected Indian warrior seeks revenge for his people, where the terror of his mission looms large around every corner. Will the grave robber survive? Only the ghost dancer can tell. That's the box, the back of the box of the Interglobal Home Video release. I think it's the Canadian release from 1988, which is how I watched this movie. And basically, the problem with this movie is that unfortunately, the night scenes are very, very dark. It's a film that is kind of begging for a restoration. So if anyone, 88 Films or anyone from Arrow or anyone, even if Bill Olsen out there is listening, this is a film that would definitely benefit from a good clean-up. It's a film that I kind of really like. I think it's actually, if you saw it on a decent presentation, I think people would like it. It's a little bit slow to start off with. But it's actually, for an early 80s slash movie, it's surprisingly uncheesy, although it has some of the kind of cheesy, well, not cheesy, but kind of those elements you'd expect from an early 80s slasher movie, like people fucking in a horse-drawn carriage with it squeaking in a museum, and then being bumped off by a killer, and sort of also a class scene where the teacher makes fun of a fat student. So it's got all those kind of things in it, but it's actually played pretty straight, even though obviously the premise is kind of pretty hoary, kind of old kind of been done a million times, or certainly since, is the idea that disturbing an Indian burial ground, and of course not forgetting this is pre-Poltergeist, sort of digging up a body which may or may not be some kind of sort of black magic kind of sort of evil Native American sorcerer, who the elders are very worried about being dug up, and somebody gets possessed by his spirit and then goes on a killing spree. So it's got a lot of the elements from the slasher movie. It's definitely kind of trying to borrow from films like Halloween and Friday the 13th and those type of movies. It's definitely and it's actually got some quite juicy kills, not particularly graphic, but sort of a couple of sort of juicy-ish kills. But it's also got some incredibly interesting. I think we just lost somebody there. We just lost Joseph.
We have lost Joseph.
Oh, Joseph will be back shortly, hopefully. But yeah, it's also got some incredibly kind of lyrical, sort of, well, not lyrical, but kind of imagery, which is quite, I think, given a decent restoration, would look amazing. And I love. I think such a good setting for a slash movie is a museum. And it was another film that reminded me of, which came a little bit later, was The Lamp, aka The Outing, which is a lot cheesier, but there's another fun movie set in a museum. So having this killer stalking people in a museum at night is just, I think, it was great, and it's kind of creepy setting. The film also has some quite creepy elements to it as well. So I think, given a decent restoration, this film would actually find quite a few fans. I mean, that's my tuppence. But I know you guys had some problems, didn't you, with the presentation of this film? Because I know it was available on YouTube, so you could watch it. So who would like to go first? Erik, what did you think of watching a black screen for 90 minutes?
Yeah, it was. I've acquired, shall I say, a VHS rip of this movie a couple of years ago. So I was rewatching that, and I think it's more or less the same print that's on YouTube. So, I think we're probably overstating how dark it is, because when it's the daytime scenes are fine. It's just the exterior nighttime shots are incredibly black, and unfortunately there's a huge chunk of them at the start of the movie. So the first 15 minutes of the film, you can only really see about 90 seconds of actual what's happening on the screen. Then there was one point where I thought my TV had switched itself off, and I was like looking for my remote control, and then I could see sort of the outline of something in the distance and going, okay, the movie is still on, thankfully. But like you, I agree completely. I mean, I think the film is very strong, and I suppose it's a compliment to the film that it held my attention for its full 90-minute running time, even though there were portions of it where I found it very difficult to see what was going on. It's interesting that, like last week, we were talking about The Mutilator and how it had the same sort of treatment on VHS, and then got this wonderful restoration by Arrow. And as you say, I'd love somebody to restore Ghost Dance. It would be ideal for a company like, dare I say, Code Red or Vinegar Syndrome, because it seems to be it would fit their brand very well, I think. As for the film itself, I like it. I think it's one that I had never heard of until you brought it to my attention a couple of years ago, Justin. It's populated with characters that are slightly more rounded than usual, I think, an adult cast, which, again, is against the grain of the normal slasher fare. I love the setting of the museum, as you said, and the film has an air of sophistication around it. You can tell that it was a well-made film, and if you could see a proper version of it, it would look pretty decent. I suppose the only thing that's not sophisticated about it is the people shagging in the replica carriage in the museum, which is kind of straight out of a Porky's movie. And the standout moments are, of course, that scene where Kay is hiding underneath an exhibit in the museum, and she stands up, and the killer is standing behind her, but behind him is a stuffed eagle with the wings outstretched, and it makes him look like some kind of bizarre, sinister angel. It's a very striking image. So it kind of reminded me of a cross between Poltergeist 2 and Friday the 13th. It had that kind of the Indian mysticism of Poltergeist 2, and I'm not sure how authentic it is. I'm sure it's like any Native American watching it would probably be touching, and the same way that when I see something like Leprechaun, I'm going, oh, this does not represent Ireland at all. I found it, as I said, a very engrossing film, and despite the fact that it looked like I was, watching it from about 40 miles away in the middle of the night, it did manage to hold my attention. I would probably, your 3.5 star review on Hysteria Lives, I'd probably agree with, and I imagine that a restored version might push that up to 4, because I do think it is quite good. I love the nihilistic ending as well, where, we'll probably discuss that later. But thumbs up from me, despite the fact that it's got a wretched presentation on any version I've seen.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Erik. Joseph, are you there? Can you join us?
For the time being, I'm here. I don't know what was said. I didn't get to hear anything, so I'm just going to throw in my thoughts. If you've already covered them,
Justin finally said he loves Toyah, and he thinks that The Changeling is her best album.
I believe.
But listen back, you'll hear the truth.
I also have some Tennessee beachfront property I could sell you, Erik.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm assuming we're talking about Ghost Dance. Yes.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Yes. I really enjoyed this film. I think one of my favorite things about it is like when like you see pops and cracks on the screen, you're not watching actual blackness anymore. You're seeing little white specks. No, if I'm serious, the movie's actually really good. It's just very, very poorly. It has a very poor presentation. That's not the fault of the filmmakers at all. It's just I'm assuming it's years and years of VHS degradation, just kind of wearing whatever copies you can find, down to being nearly unwatchable. But the scenes you can see, I think they're really well done. It's a little talky in places. I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Because what they have to say here is fairly interesting. But once they essentially get past the 15 or 20-minute opening bit where it's the darkest, and you can actually see what's going on, there's a lot of great suspense and a lot of great murders. And I love. I'm trying not to spoil too much. I mean, we always do, but anyway, I love the last shock when they're standing over the body of the mummy, and it grabs the guy by the wrist, and we realize that she's still, I guess she's still possessed by that spirit. I mean, at least that's what I got from it, from being able to see what I can see.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good movie hidden underneath just a very bad presentation. I mean, if any movie deserves a completely restored, Blu-ray release, it's probably Ghost Dance. I mean, it's really well made, really well shot. I'm imagining those night scenes probably actually look really well. They probably actually were really well done. I mean, who knows? I guess it's just going to be one of those things we'll have to wait and see if it ever gets a release to find out. But yeah, I'm going to give it a thumbs up despite its poor presentation. I think it's got an interesting story, some really great kills. I think the killer's pretty scary. It's maybe 5 or 10 minutes too long, but that's not a total hindrance. No, I really enjoyed it. I was surprised, despite bits here and there of like squinting to figure out what's going on. But yeah, thumbs up from me.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you, Joseph. Well, that's good to hear. Nathan, what did you think of the Ghost Dance?
I think it's a very, very, very frustrating experience to watch it with the print, I guess, that we all saw, because like you guys, I was entertained and I liked the storyline. I liked where it was going. I love the music. And I love the setting, like Erik was saying about the museum. Like, I love that setting. I thought it was great. But, again, like, I hate to echo, what you guys have said, but the darkness in the night scenes drove me crazy, because I was into the film, so I wanted to see what was happening on screen, and you just can't. And it's very frustrating, when you actually find yourself actually liking the film and having to deal with that. I was very, very aggravated during it.
Rhubarb.
And actually, and it was actually, I was ready to go rhubarb on that film, because I do think it's a good movie, and that was part of the frustration I had with it. I loved the scene. Man, the character's name escapes me, but when he gets attacked in the oh God, my mind has just gone blank suddenly, because I was ready to be frustrated. He's the one that gets the knife thrown into his back.
Yeah, that's Paul.
Yeah, and I was so I was so mad at that scene, because I'm like, he had the foresight to jump under that gurney to get out, and then a knife gets thrown. What a cheat! The killer was a cheater, and I'm just calling it out. I'm calling it as I see it. That was very much a cheat. All right, I think Paul should have lived, and that's all I got to say about that.
He didn't get out of the cockadoo car.
Yeah. Maybe it was another dream sequence.
Well, I have my theories about the ending too, but I'm gonna save that for after the credits.
Okay.
Interesting.
Because it'll be very interesting, and I think you guys will. I mean, there's just no doubt in my mind that you guys will agree with me on it. What did you guys think of Dr. K as like the heroine of the film?
I thought she was really good. I thought really personable, and the fact that she was a bit older, wasn't she? She must have been in her 30s, I would imagine, when she made that.
Yeah, makes it more believable. Yeah,
because apparently she was not getting into background, but she was Miss New York or something, or Miss what was it? Miss she was beauty queen, Miss New York State, 1964. So she must have been in her mid to late 30s, I think, when she's made it. And I thought she was very personable, really likable character. And I think, we're getting to we'll talk a little bit about what she's doing now, but I think it's a shame she didn't really go on to, go on to more kind of leading lady roles. In fact, the film, is very obscure, and we can get into a bit of the background about possibly why that might be. But I thought she was really good.
I did too. I really liked her in this movie, to be honest. I thought that, like you said, I thought she was very personal. She's very likable. And so, on the surface, that kind of makes the ending kind of a punch to the gut. But, I'm sure we'll discuss that a little more.
Can I ask a question? There's one thing I couldn't quite figure out. It might have been just the quality of the print wasn't making it obvious to me. But the character of Nahala, who is this resurrected Indian spirit, was he able to possess the dog and the cat in the film? Is that what we're meant to imply? Because there's a dog that attacks a woman who comes to the house and drags her into a cave. And then there's a cat that comes into Kay's apartment and starts looking suspicious. Are we to believe that they are possessed by Nahala as well?
I'm not sure about the cat. I thought that was her cat.
Yeah, but it keeps focusing on it as if it has, some part to play in the plot. So I thought maybe,
possibly. Yeah, I don't know. Well, it could have been that he's able to, because I think isn't that part of kind of Native American folklore about sort of possessing animals, animal spirits
possibly,
and things. Yeah, very possibly. I mean, it didn't make it that clear, did it? But the cat came in and was watching her in the shower.
Dirty cat.
Dirty cat. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing I was wondering about. Sorry.
So it came in to flush the toilet.
Of course it did. Yeah. Cue the song.
Hold on.
The other thing.
There you go. Okay, carry on.
The other thing I was wondering about is that the character of Tom, who is a native Indian who doesn't believe in all the mystical stuff that his tribesmen were trying to instill in him as a youth, he keeps flashing back to this incident where he's watching a young boy. Looks like it's been disemboweled at one stage. They stick their hand into his chest and pull out some guts. Does anyone know what that was about, or is that just? Are we just to take from that he was watching just some general ritual and it turned his stomach so much that he turned his back on his heritage or something?
I think that was what was kind of implied, the reason that he kind of turned his back on his heritage. But whether or not it was meant to be kind of faith healing, sometimes they kind of take people. I knew somebody years and years ago who kind of had like a faith healing thing where they actually kind of cut people open and pull bits of them out, with their hands, which is kind of very bizarre. But so I didn't know if it was meant to be implying that
could be it then, yeah.
Yeah, or they were, because it seems a bit strange that they would be kind of killing that boy.
Yes.
Because that's going a bit too far, isn't it?
It is.
But yeah, no, I got that.
Apparently, you need your inner organs to live.
Yeah,
most of them anyway.
Well, not if you've watched the end of Anthropophagus.
No, well, I've lost my gallbladder and my appendix, and I'm still fit and healthy.
Well, there you go. So I've lost my liver and my kidneys, and I'm still going.
Yeah.
So
George Best. Yeah.
So yeah, okay. Well, interesting. I mean, anything else on the film? Sort of. I mean, I'd say it is just a shame. I think it would be a revelation, I think, to see this film because it looks. It's again. You actually look at the director, Peter F. Buffer, who only made this is his only feature film that I could see, but it's very well done. It's kind of it's got some good suspense. It looks like cinematography. If you can actually had a decent presentation, would be pretty good. It's. When we get onto background, I kind of sort of hazard a guess about what happened to this film and why it's so obscure. But is there anything else we want to mention about the discussion about the film? Because obviously we do the after the credits a little bit later.
I was just impressed by some of the kill scenes. Like there's one of the characters is impaled on a spear, and of course then the kill scene that isn't a kill scene. It's just a dream. Nathan, don't worry, where he gets the knife thrown to his back. I just thought it wasn't overtly gory, but it had just the right amount, I think, to keep you keep the interest of the gorehounds going. Whoa!
Oh, sorry.
What the hell was that?
It's me. I just dropped my iPad on the floor.
It sounded like a big sneeze.
No, it's actually me.
To me, Eric, though, that was just the killer not playing fair.
What
the killer should have been fair about this.
Why would the killer?
I had
be
an
fair?
unintentional. Go ahead.
Sorry. No, you go ahead, Joseph.
No, I was just going to say I had an unintentional laugh with Ghost Dance. I was watching the VHS rip on the VLC player, and I accidentally sped it up during that scene where the two people are having sex in the stagecoach. So you see the stagecoach going real fast. So I started busting out laughing watching that.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah.
You didn't get that, and that was one of the things that was missing from Night at the Museum and Night at the Museum 2.
Yeah.
Sex in the stagecoach.
I wish the Ghost Dance killer would, do away with Ben Stiller's movie career.
Ooh, that's harsh.
Yeah.
Well, I think Ben Stiller's doing a good enough job of that himself, isn't he?
Ooh.
But has everyone seen the Lamp, aka The Outing from 86,
Yes.
87?
Yes.
Because that's a museum sort of setting, isn't it? I mean, it's kind of like there's The Relic as well, which was obviously not a slasher movie, like a monster movie set in the museum. I just think it's just a great setting, isn't it, for a slasher movie? Especially as it was kind of set in a kind of in a museum full of Native American artifacts, so it added that extra kind of sort of sense of kind of oddness to it. But
can I just say that I would have never guessed what this movie was about just based off the title alone?
Well, do you know what a ghost dance is, Nathan?
Well, is it what she says in the film? No.
Well, it kind of is. I've got it here from. I spent hours and hours researching ancient texts. On
10 seconds on IMDb?
Actually, Wikipedia, and this is what this says. The ghost dance, which apparently is the actual. I presume it's the actual. The Native American way of saying is Nana Sanana. Apparently, so.
Is that not the start of Saturday Night?
Sounds like a Bananarama song, but
it does. It sounds like the start of Saturday Night by Wakefield. Na.
Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, it was a new religious movement incorporated into numerous American Indian belief systems. According to teachers of the Northern Paiute spirit leader, Wavaka, renamed Jack Wilson, randomly, proper practice of the dance would reunite the living with the spirits of the dead, bring the spirits of the dead to fight on their behalf, make the white colonists leave, and bring peace, prosperity, and unity to Indian peoples throughout the region. So I think it was kind of based on, that was, pretty much that, wasn't it, really? That was kind of, he was coming back. Although, because in the film, it's, and this is what we're talking about when we get talking about the ending, really, is that this the spirit had basically possessed a woman at the time, a white woman at the time, hadn't he? And she is a spitting image of Dr. K. So you can probably see where that's going, in so much that Dr. K starts getting possessed by the same spirit, or by towards the end of the film, and you're not sure, we'll talk about the ending when we do after the credits, because
Joseph's already told us the ending.
Well, yes, okay.
Well, I was thinking that it's a much classier version than what I would think of if I was thinking a slasher movie called Ghost Dance.
What would you be thinking?
Mine would be a much trashier movie, I think. I was thinking...
Set in a disco.
Well, I mean, not necessarily. I was thinking that it's a group of, teenagers go to this mansion where, like, 20 years earlier, a group of dancers died there. But the dancers' ghosts are still there, and they want to kill these teens off one by one to join their dance group. So they can be sectionals.
I would watch that movie. I would.
I'm sure you would, Eric. Wouldn't we?
And at the end, the ghost dance takes place at sectionals, and they all have their dance off with their new dancers, the teenagers, and they win. So it's a happy ending.
Yeah.
Sounds marvelous. So, okay, well, let's move on to some background, shall we? Nathan, as you've regaled us with your alternative plot for Ghost Dance, do you have any background on this movie?
It was not lit the best during filming, but I don't know why. So no.
Okay, well, thank you. Joseph, are you able to chime in at this moment? That is probably a no. So let's go over.
He's possessed.
He's possessed. Yeah. It's kind of. I feel like a newscaster when everything goes wrong. So, Erik, how about you?
Okay, well, I went for my brief 10 seconds on IMDb to check a few things out. Julie Amato, who plays Dr. Kate Foster, she is a famous voiceover artist, and she's done several celebrity profiles for Entertainment or for the Entertainment Channel, I should say, including one for Hunter Tylo, who, of course, was in The Initiation. Yes. I think I have a factoid here about the girl who plays Carol, if I can scroll down. Yeah. Carol is the girl who's shagging in the stagecoach and who gets impaled on the spear. But that actress is called Patricia Alice Albrecht. And you know what she's probably most famously known for, Nathan? And I think you'll like it.
Oh, what?
She's the voice of Pizzazz from the Misfits in Gem and the Truly Outrageous Holograms.
Oh, my God. Now, I love her character more than any other character in this movie, just because of that fact.
Yeah. Justin, I'll probably have to fill you in here because you're probably too cool for Gem and the Truly Outrageous Holograms in the 80s.
Yeah. What was that?
Okay. Gem and the Holograms were a pop group, and they used to go around doing good for the world, but they had a rival pop group called the Misfits, who looked like Susie and the Banshees. And the lead singer of the Misfits was Pizzazz.
Okay.
And they were bold. They used to do bold things.
Well, that sounds like fun. Didn't they do a really bad film version of it? Live
yeah,
version?
but the Misfits apparently weren't in it.
Oh.
I won't watch the film version. Apparently, they took everything out that was, fun about the show.
The other thing, she was in Force 5 as well, which was the Robert Klaus movie from 1981. Frank Salcido, who plays, I think, the medicine man in the film, he was also in Creepshow 2, obviously in the probably old Chief Woodenhead sequence. It was filmed in Arizona, released, I think it was filmed in 1980. Is that what you got as well, Justin?
Yeah. Well, I think
I was getting 1980 as a date, but it was released in 1982.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was the script was written in 1979, but I'm presuming it was filmed in 1980.
The Finnish title was Piru Yrtti, which Google Translate tells me is loose demon. Ooh. And which was what Justin would be if he was a demon.
Oh, for goodness sake.
I can't find any evidence of this ever being released in the UK and Ireland. You may contradict me there, but unless it was released under some weird alternate title, which I couldn't find, there's no reference to Ghost Dance on the BBFC website. So, and there's no evidence of a VHS release when I googled it. So I'm guessing this just adds to its obscurity that it was released in North America only, probably. Yeah. So that's all I have. I'm afraid there's not much to.
Okay.
Apart from my amazing joke of the week coming up.
Oh yes, that's coming up. So stay tuned. Thank you, Erik. Joseph, are you there now? Calling
like
Sarajevo. Yeah. It's like the Eurovision Song Contest, isn't it? When they go, "Are you there, Sarajevo?" Okay.
Hello, Bristol. You're doing one hell of a show tonight.
Right. Well, I've got a little bit of background. It was I did some research. Obviously, it was filmed in Arizona and California. Obviously, all the outdoor shots were in Arizona. I wasn't sure whether or not it got a cinema release, but I did some digging and I actually found 2 cinema posters for the film.
Actually, I found a review in Cine Fantastique magazine.
Okay.
Just very brief capsule review, which makes me think it probably was released theatrically there. It says archaeologists in Arizona unearth an evil Indian spirit who possesses a would-be medicine man and begins a killing spree. Despite eerie atmospheric camera work and some handsome locations in Tucson and the Arizona desert, this low-budget first effort by Buffa is hampered by the director's sluggish pacing and his inexperience with actors. Which I think is quite harsh, because I think the pacing is not sluggish, and I think the actors are really good.
I think I agree with Joseph. It could at 96 minutes, it could have stood to lose sort of 6 to 10 minutes. I think just sort of tighten up the pacing a bit, but it wasn't that sluggish. I don't think.
I don't think so either. No, but that was in Cine Fantastique in 1982. I think that review section was for theatrical releases only, rather than.
Well, I found 2. There's 2. Things. One's here, and annoyingly, actually, sorry, I did put. One's vanished, but there's one called they're both called Ghost Dance. One's got like a painted sort of image of the kind of very muscular looking sort of Native American sort of standing over, holding what looks like a giant snake. Well, I think it's a snake.
Sounds very phallic.
Yes, but with what looks like a cat with sideburns at the end of it, and then like a woman with a fire faucet flick, reaching a hand out to try and get away from him, which Well, it's interesting, certainly. But I'm just trying to find.
I think I'm looking at that one here. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Nahala is back from hell, and this time no one will escape.
Yes, and I'm just looking actually because I found another one. Where is it? Here we are. Let's see if I can get that to open. Sorry, just talk amongst yourselves.
This poster I'm looking at, Justin, I think it's the same one you were mentioning about Nahala holding the snake. It says this ad above is from its belated opening in Santa Fe, New Mexico, is it? On February the 3rd, 1984.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, but it said it had its world premiere on May the 21st, 1982 in Tucson, Arizona.
Hold on.
Nahala.
I'm going to send you this image so you can see what we're talking about here. So I'm just saying it's a different poster. In this one, it says the tagline is "In your car, in your office, at home, even in broad daylight. He's there. God help you." And then Ghost Dance, the step beyond terror.
And a skull with shades on. Cool.
Yeah, skull with shades on being smashed. So in a skull in a black hood. So not really anything to do with the film, but
no.
But yeah, I just thought that was so. So obviously the film did get some kind of a cinema release, even belatedly. I mean, I think given the fact that it was the script was written in 1979, and the film it looked like it was filmed in 1980. Again, it was probably one of we talked about this, a number of films that would have sat on the shelf that didn't find distribution at the time because the marketplace is perhaps oversaturated with slasher movies. The production company was someone, I think I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's RMS Inc. When I looked them up on IMDb, it was their only production. So again, it hints at a film that was, the production company basically started and folded with this one film. Let's see if there's anything else.
What box art does the Canadian release have? Is it that standard one with the Indian holding the knife?
Yes. So it says that it was. I found no evidence that it was released in the UK in any way, shape, or form. I wouldn't be surprised if it did get some release, but I didn't. I've not seen anything. So it is truly kind of pretty obscure. I mean, Peter F. Buffer was. He went on to direct some episodes of something called The Mechanical Universe in 1985 to 86, which was like a TV documentary show, but I think it was looking at sort of steam engines and things like that, I think. And then I saw somebody, but kind of somebody under that name became mayor of somewhere in the early 90s. Whether or not it's the same person, I don't know. It's just a shame, really, I think, given that I think it was a promising debut, and I think it probably, for whatever reason, I couldn't find any details on this, it got sat on the shelf and eventually got sort of released probably not many places. It was a shame, really, because I think he could have done some more interesting things, but obviously didn't get the opportunity to. And you mentioned obviously Julia Mato went on to sort of I think she's still working at the moment, isn't she? She's still doing she's like a voice actress for lots of different things at the moment. So Joseph, are you with us? Calling Paris. No, still have no Joseph. So let's should we do it after the credits then? I think it may be
joke of the week.
Oh, we could do joke of the week. I was going to wait for Joseph because I thought.
Of course, it's such a treat. Yeah, sorry.
It's such a treat. Yeah. Well, no, I'm sure. What Erik? Nathan talking after the credits is also a treat, but I don't mind. Who wants to go first? This is riveting for our listeners.
Yeah, I mean it's either way.
Either way, okay. Well, also, what I was going to say, could one of you look up read out the background? Sorry, the background. Actually, the comments on Facebook from our listeners, if Joseph's not available.
Okay, I will dig them out if Nathan wants to do his after the credits.
Yes, if you could do that, Nathan. Okay.
All right. As we all know, at the end, she has the scalpel, and it appears that she is possessed, and it doesn't look good. But after the credits, she dropped the scalpel and she said, "Just kidding." She was just like, it was just kind of, engaging in some immature skylarking.
That's just classic Kay, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like, she's got a great sense of humor, so she just wanted to, do some skylarking, and that's what she did, just engaged in a little tomfoolery.
Yeah. But didn't I sort of...
Well, they all needed cheering up at that stage anyway. So.
Yeah. What after a mass murder spree, everyone needs a little bit of light relief, don't they?
Yeah.
She just thought, okay, how can I lighten the mood at what we're doing here? Because this is very, very solemn. So she thought, oh, I'll pretend to be possessed. Just kidding. But we did, unfortunately, the scene where she said just kidding was too dark, so they actually ended up cutting it out.
But how did she manage, if that was the case, it's just kidding, how did she manage to get the mummy to grab Paul's or Tom's arm?
She used her spare hand and just kind of pulled the wrapping there out, so it looked like it was grabbing his hand, but it wasn't really grabbing it. It was just sort of touching him.
Okay, but I know because she turned away, didn't she? One of the things I thought was quite funny about it was that when she turned back, her eyes were all wild and she had a blood smear on her mouth and her hair had got bigger. And I love the fact that sort of an Indian spirit, an evil Indian spirit, can give you a kind of a lift on your perm.
Well, I mean, it helped in. It wasn't an Indian spirit, but it was an evil spirit. It helped in Boarding House.
It did as well, and also, of course, it helped. It's in Urban Legends as well, wasn't it? Rebecca Gayhart's hair getting bigger. So it's a sure sign of mental illness, the hair being big hair, isn't it? And if anyone's seen that Thunder in the Mountains video, the Toya put out.
I knew you were going to say that. Well, Susie's hair isn't exactly small.
That is true. Yes, okay, touche. But Joseph, anyway, calling Berlin.
Joseph, are you there? Hello? Hello? No, okay.
No. Okay, so we will resume normal service with Joseph shortly, hopefully. But, I think that's a nice idea for after the credits. Obviously, there was no... Because the other film, of course, we haven't mentioned, but which is kind of what is Fred Olen Ray's Scalps, which is very similar to this, isn't it?
I love Scalps.
But much cheesier. Yeah,
it is much cheesier.
But that ended with a kind of a promise of Scalps 2, didn't it? So what would Nathan, what would you suggest as a sequel? What would Ghost Dance 2 be?
Well, I think Ghost Dance 2 would be my other idea.
Okay. But how would that tie into would the mansion been built on an ancient Indian burial ground?
Well, that and the leader of the dance troupe was Dr. K.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, she was a dancer. I mean, we didn't get to see it because it wasn't pertinent to the plot of this film. But what we didn't know is that she was a very, very good dancer, and she does some choreography in her spare time when she's not teaching.
Yeah.
And she leads this group of teenagers, and their van breaks down by a mansion. So she's in the sequel, and then she notices the weird things going on, and she relates it to her past.
So she's not still possessed?
Well, she never was. It was a joke.
Okay. Well, in that version of events...
She's just joshing around.
Because it would be a shame for the mummy not to come back, wouldn't it? With the ancient curse.
It could be one of those. Could be one of those Howling or Hellraiser sequels where none, they're completely separate, or Prom Night 2, that type of sequel.
That's true. Right. Well, okay. Well,
it needs to have dancing in it at some stage because I was let down by the lack of dancing in this movie.
I was too.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that's yes. Well, do you want to, Erik? Have you located?
I have. I found them. Yes.
Would you mind
after scrolling down through all the contests between the what do you call it?
Oh yeah, contests.
Contest posts, yeah. Anyway, so Justin Kosh says, I've never heard of this before until he posted the pic. After perusing the IMDb page, I found it on YouTube. One of my days off this week, I'll check it out. Looks like a lot of fun. Well, it sounds like a lot of fun. Probably more than looks. No comment here, this is from John Matthews, sorry. He says, no comment here, gentlemen. Never even heard of this one. This never had a VHS down here in Australia, but I'll try and see if I can find it online. Side note, I shot you guys an email about a very obscure slasher I bet you guys have never heard of. So we'll have to contact Joseph about that one. He's the administrator, I should say, of the email account. David Assassino, is that how you say it? Nathan, help me out.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, David, if I've mispronounced your name and made you sound like an assassin. He says, I'd like to be able to say I've seen this despite actually watching it, as it was almost impossible to see what was happening in various scenes of the VHS strip, as the screen was almost solid black during some of the night scenes, which there seemed to be a lot of. I eventually gave up on it. I might try again, though, now that you're covering it. That said, it was still better than Scream 3. There we go.
Well, fair enough, yes.
I don't know what is there a reason for that comparison with Scream 3, or is that just random? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, our next one is from Simon Logan.
Not Simon Logan.
It is. Nathan, can you believe it's Simon Logan?
I can't.
There's Joseph.
Hello,
There's Joseph.
I've missed the whole fucking episode.
Okay, well, calm down. We're about to get on to Simon Logan's comment.
You're
Simon
reading
Logan. Yeah, sorry, you've been usurped.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so Simon Logan says, managed to watch this one via Joffer Jeff's YouTube channel, and as others have commented, the rip is darker than Justin's wardrobe. So in places it's impossible to see what's going on, so I ended up doing an Erik and borrowing a copy, then running it through a quick brightness adjustment, which made it slightly more watchable. This had the knock-on effect of making the brighter scenes feel like I was watching them after ingesting a good dose of peyote. Is it? Is that a drug reference?
Peyote, yeah.
So I was
A plant derivative, I'm assuming. Some kind of hallucinogen.
Okay. See, I wouldn't know about that type of thing. Nathan would, though. So I was switching back and forth between the two versions. I have to admit that the Native American stuff doesn't do much for me, and it comes off as silly in places, just as in Poltergeist 2. However, there are some decent moments in it, and it's always refreshing to have a slasher that is doing something a bit different. The ending was good, even if we could see it coming a mile off. Overall, interesting, but quite average. That's from Simon Logan. And on to another regular here, Tristan Comer. And he says, finally got around to watching this one with my best friend not too long ago. I like it as it was pretty creepy and had good atmosphere to it. One of our favourite moments takes place when Kay is trying to evade the possessed Indian. After ending up in the bird exhibit, she looks up from her hiding spot to see what appears to be a huge bird silhouette, but it's actually the killer in front of a bird display. I think it's solid and worth checking out. Simon Logan comes back then. That's Simon Logan. And he says, I should also note that I spent almost 10 minutes watching the wrong ghost dance on YouTube. I should have guessed when the maudlin narration and French subtitles kicked in, but what can I say? It was late. And he has the IMDb link to it. I think it's a documentary, because I sort of, when I was looking for ghost dance on YouTube, I think I stumbled across that one as well.
It was a 1983 one, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. David Rindone says, it would be great if I knew what it was. I think he's referring to the image quality again. And Louis Adams says, been dying to watch this one. Luckily, it's on YouTube. Well, I wonder what you thought, Louis.
Excellent.
Because it's a film that you sort of watch half of and hear half of, rather than watch all of. Sadly. So that's the Facebook correspondence. Joseph, John Matthews posted on our Facebook page that he sent us an email about an obscure slasher, and he says, I bet you guys have never heard of it. Do you know what that is?
Well, John Matthews is going to have to wait for me to check it. Sorry, John.
That's okay. We can do my joke of the week while we're waiting.
Yes. Okay. Well, should we? Let's.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I just play your jingle to start off with?
Play the jingle, and then when I do the joke, you have to play the other clip I sent you earlier, just as clarification. Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Hold on to your hats. Sorry, wrong one.
I was thinking, have you done a new jingle?
Wrong jingle.
It's my joke of the week. It's so great and fantastic.
Did you know that Gwen Stefani wrote a song for the proposed sequel? It was called Ghost Dance 2, Nahala's Back Girl. Nahala's Back Girl.
That was good, Erik, no doubt.
Thank you. Very good.
You worked on that hard, didn't you?
Do you know what, Nathan? You know what we forgot? Joseph has done a brand new jingle for you after the credits, and we forgot to play it.
He did.
Where was it?
Didn't he send it to us?
He sent it on Facebook Messenger, yeah.
Oh,
Justin.
Oh,
Justin.
Oh, well, next time. You have to tune in next time.
That'll be the hook for next episode, is that you can hear a new jingle.
Exactly.
And Joseph, just so you know what happened after the credits, Kay just dropped the scalpel and said, just kidding. She was just doing some immature skylarking.
Yeah. She was just trying to brighten the mood. Yeah.
I've missed the whole fucking episode, so I don't know what the hell's happened. So I guess I'll just be listening back and agreeing or disagreeing.
Well, did you have any background you wanted to regale us with?
Well, I mean, the only thing I had, and you probably already talked about, was Frank Salcedo, who played the I don't even remember his name in the movie, but he was also in Creepshow 2 as Ben Whitemoon. That's all I had. So.
Okay, well, well, thank you for the people who missed that the first time. But you can have heard it. But hopefully you'll be with us for the next 30 seconds of the show. But
this is all kind of my fault because I was working this morning and we had to rearrange the start time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, no, it's just as you know, we do this out of love, and it's a transatlantic podcast. So we're in different time zones.
Transvestite podcast.
Well, that as well, and we're in different time zones, so sometimes it can make it a little bit challenging to get us all together at the same time. But yes, well, that was Ghost Dance. So, do we have any feedback? Any other feedback from anyone? I'm taking that as a no.
Not to my knowledge.
No. Okay. Well, we say that we're recording this quite a long time in advance, so if you do add your thoughts on Ghost Dancer, the Facebook group, we didn't read it out. That's probably because we've already recorded the show. So apologies for that. But obviously, we'd love to hear from you, and this is how to get in contact with the show.
The content of this podcast was provided by Justin Kurzweil, Erik Frillfall, Nathan Johnson, and Joseph Henson. If you enjoy our program and are willing and able to provide a donation, please visit us on Patreon and become a content-designated subscriber. That's patreon.com/The Hysteria Continues. For non-subscriber PayPal donations and general feedback, our address is the.hysteria.continues@gmail.com. To listen and interact, simply search for The Hysteria Continues on iTunes, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Susie versus Toya forever.
Yes, and thank you for everyone who contacted the show, and also, of course, an extra special thank you to our Patreon subscribers and supporters. There's a number of you now, and we love each and every one of you more than the people who haven't subscribed.
Oh, I get it. Holla back, girl.
Very good. It's good.
I get it now. No, it's
so.
No holla back.
Okay,
because Justin, Nahala was the name of the Indian spirit.
No, really, is that what it was?
Because you weren't laughing. I thought maybe you didn't get the joke. So
no, I got the joke. I just didn't. It didn't rouse me from my coffin. But anyway, thank you. We're talking Patreon picks. I think the next one we've so far done Burial Ground and Troll 2. So we're covering non-slasher horror titles that we think would be fun to cover, but don't really fall into the very, very broad remit of this show. So, ones that we can't even justify calling them slasher movie, really, can we? But next one is going to be the 1980s Humanoids from the Deep, which will be our net Patreon pick, which will be out at the beginning of August. Beginning of is it
end of August?
End of August, yes.
Yes, so, the end of August.
So
now, What's the next podcast pick, though? Isn't it Eric's turn?
Yes, it is, and I'm glad you brought it up because we're picking another Michael Alishan classic. This time it's going to be, 1988's Hack-O-Lantern. Just come out on Blu-ray in the States, so I've never seen it, so I'm in for a treat, possibly.
Or
I'm hoping. Yeah. Oh, I'm in for a treat, a trick or treat. God, I didn't even know I was making a joke, and I did.
I believe that's the episode of... I believe Amanda's joining us on that one, or it could be a different one. I can't remember.
Oh, cool.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah. Well, let's. Hopefully, it'll be lovely to have Amanda back with us. She's going to be back over in the UK, isn't she? Relatively.
She's doing more lectures, in October. Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully, we'll get if the stars align, we'll catch up with her again in person. But yeah, so next time it's we're rushing towards the autumn to the fall, aren't we? So we can given our summer seems to be over here anyway, it's torrential rain at the moment. So we'll be hammering through to October soon and Halloween. So what better way to celebrate the end of summer than with Hack-O-Lantern? So please join us next time on Hysteria Continues. So and what we're going to play out with. Is
Toya.
Ghost Dance by
Toya.
By Death Cult, who were
Danced by Toya,
which were
Ghost Dancing by Simple Minds,
which went on to become the Cult. But I thought as it is because actually Ian Astbury from the Cult was very inspired by Native American culture. So a lot of the songs were involved.
Actually, Nahala, the guy who's possessed by Nahala in Ghost Dance, looks not unlike Ian Astbury.
That is true, but yeah. So this is kind of like Death Cult, who were originally Southern Death Cult, who were like a gothic, very kind of gothic, and Death Cult was quite gothic as well. So I'm sure
Wasn't
you'll
Wayne
love this.
Hussey in that band as well?
No, he was
At
in
one stage.
Sisters of Mercy.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, Erik.
And he was in Dead or Alive, believe it or not.
Was he?
Yeah, briefly.
Okay, but yeah, so that's your 101 on goth subculture. But yeah, so we're going to play out with a little bit of that. Who knows? You might get a little sting of Toya at the end of the episode. We'll see. We'll see if I can fit something in.
I'm a little shocked you didn't decide to use Firewoman from the Cult.
Well, they actually had a song called Ghost Dance. So.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's
sorry. I didn't get to hear any of that again.
Okay, no, yeah, it's a song called Ghost Dance, which is why I chose it. But yeah, I'm just saying that Ian Astbury and the Cult did have a lot of, at least start off with, there's a lot of Native American influences. So playing out with that, and so enjoy the rest of your summer. Hopefully, you might get a little bit of sunshine, and we shall be back with Hack-A-Lantern in a not too distant future. So yeah, say goodbye to the good people.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, everybody.